Okay, so again, this webinar is about funds or companies who are complicit over the Gaza genocide. So as we know that this genocide has been going on for, I believe, more than 1 year. So this is where there are certain companies that have projects with the country that is attacking Gaza, right? So here in this webinar, we are going to talk about a few things. Okay, so first is we want to share like what does it mean to own the stock? How does funds work? How does Sharia compliant fund work? So I think this is also something important that when we talk about Sharia compliant funds, if you look at the fund fact sheet, there are still these companies inside the the fund itself lah. But we are saying that it's Sharia compliant. So I think that's where we feel the need to explain and share about how the funds work. Because if we don't know how it works, then we cannot just blindly say the hukum, say the permissibility or whatnot. Then after that, you are going to into the classical fiqh on this matter. Is there any issue last time during, not the time of the Prophet, maybe the time of the companions, maybe the time of the scholars, where they are also go facing through similar issues? Then lastly, that's where we will share our opinion on the ruling of investing in funds complicit over Gaza genocide. So just take note that this is a personal opinion from me and also from Ustaz Nasiruddin, not representing anyone lah or any organization. Okay. Right. So before I give the mic to Ustaz Nasiruddin for the first two questions, okay, I would just like to say that this is a contemporary fiqh issue in the sense that when you talk about funds, when you talk about stock, when you talk about even matters globally now, it is a contemporary issue. Means that we cannot just take, we pick the verses of the Quran, we pick the hadith of the Prophet peace be upon him, then we say, oh, this is the ruling, this is the ruling. No, we have to look into the issue itself, the issue or the product itself. Okay, what does it comprise of? What does it mean when you own a stock? What does it mean when the fund invests in certain things? And what are the implications and everything? So we have to understand the issue thoroughly. From there, that's where the second part, we have to look back into our sources, which is the Quran, the Sunnah, the scholarly discussion, the Sirah. All of this plays a part in looking into the issue holistically. If not, we will just be, I would say, we will just not be putting things at its place. And that is also a danger too. So this is where we look back into our sources and we look whether there are similar issues. And then after that, that's the last part where we look into our situation and hence we derive the ruling from there. That's where after all of this research, all of the understanding, all of this reading up, then we give our, I would say, our ruling for ourselves, okay, when we are facing these issues in the sense. Okay, so that's why we are going to start this session with Ustaz Nasir sharing about the funds, about the funds and also the stocks in a
Stocks.
sense. Okay, and Ustaz Nasir also, if I would like to introduce for everyone, he's a master degree. He has a master in Islamic Finance, and he has experience working in different financial institutions in Malaysia and Singapore. So this is where I believe about the product, he is the best person to share to everyone. So I would like to invite Ustaz Nasir to share with us. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You guys can hear me, eh?
Yes.
Boleh dengar? All right. Okay, thank you so much, Ustaz Fairuzi. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, let's get straight into the topic itself. Next slide, Ustaz. Okay, so the point that I'm gonna share, like what Ustaz Faruzi have already mentioned, my part will be more on the technical part of things in terms of investment itself. So when we talk about investment, usually we go into the most interesting part of investment, which is to invest directly into a company, or we buy share, or sometimes when we meet some FA and whatnot, usually what being sell to us is funds or unit trust. Okay, but in essentially all this basically means about the same thing lah. So our um I will be focusing only on stocks and funds, but definitely we have different investment vehicle as well, like bonds, suku, and whatnot. But that will not be in our discussion today because the issue that have been widespread discussed, especially between previous weeks and months as well, where we invest directly into a certain company lah. And when we talk about certain company, investing into company basically is about stock investment or indirectly through fund investment. So I would like to start off with the halal screen that we have. Usually, when we want to buy any form of stocks or any form of ETF or anything, Alhamdulillah, in today's context, we have all these screeners available for us. Say, for example, like your Zoya, your Islamically, Musafa, and whatnot. We have a lot of them, and all these tools actually help us in terms of the Muslim community when we want to start investing, but then we don't know how we want to screen all these stocks. Okay, but all those have already been prevalent throughout the whole year, throughout the past few years. But the issue that we have today, especially after whatever that is happening in Gaza and also some places that have been, experiencing all this atrocity and whatnot, the issue is it enough what being screened on these stocks just on the business itself? Because if you were to see, when we talk about halal screener or when we talk about Sharia compliant investment, okay, easy to say. You open any screener, you just input any company, say for example Microsoft, okay. So what will be screened? Basically, we will just look at two different things. The first one is the business activity. What is the main business of that company itself? Say for example, for Microsoft, they do software, they do system, and also some applications for computers and whatnot. Okay, so basically for that kind of business is okay. So we go to the second layer of screening where we look into their financial. What do we want to look for in these financials? Basically, two items. First is the interest. What are the interests that they pay in terms of the loan that they have, as well as what is the interest that they're going to receive. Okay, and then the second one is mostly whether this company is highly leveraged or maybe there's too much loan that they are being taking, so they might not be easy to liquidate and whatnot. Okay, so those financials are very certain in terms of what we should look for and what are the benchmark that or what are the tolerance that we can actually absorb in terms of when we want to say that certain company is Sharia compliant or not. So basically, when we talk about Sharia compliance, that is the only two matters that we screen, which is the business activity as well as the financials. But we don't go deeper into what are the investment of that company, for example. Okay, say for example, Microsoft. What are the investments that Microsoft do? Because when we talk about investment, usually we always think of this kind of cash flow. Us, when we give the money to the company will do something with that money. So that is the relationship that we have in terms of the cash flow when we do investment or what we thought that we have today lah. Okay, so when we talk about the investment of the companies, we don't really look into it. Okay, even say for example in banks and whatnot, when they want to give out any Islamic loans, for example, okay, yes, we do screen the companies, okay, what are the activity, the financials that I just stated just now, but we don't really delve into, okay, this, yes, definitely we want to know what you want to do with this money, but say for example, they just want to do a form of investment. Then by all means, a form of investment. Say, for example, they want to do a certain building. So that is good enough for us. Whether inside the building you want to do casino or whether inside the building maybe a mixture of things, but then there's selling of alcohol and whatnot, that is not our issue. Okay, but when we talk about giving money or when we want to give money to them, it is on a surface value for now. And that is also the system that we have lah in throughout the whole world. Okay, when we do our screening, these are the only two items that we focus on. So like what you have, what you can see here, what is not being screened, okay, by all this are such thing as your political alignment. Say for example, this company, what is their political incline? whether they are prone to this, prone to that, what are their activities in terms of the human rights, what is human rights, say for example, the labor, how do they pay their salary, or do they do any form of tyranny and whatnot, okay, not paying salary or maybe cheap labor, okay, and then all other ethical considerations as well. What kind of activities, say for example, environment, do they pollute the environment and whatnot? All those are not screen when we talk about Sharia screen. Unfortunately. Okay. But of course, is it viable for us to do that? Yes. Okay. But it needs time. For now, we have these two screening. Okay. For it to develop further, it needs time. Okay. But say, for example, we do a checklist. Okay. Business activity, financial screening, ethical, and one all we do a checklist. Is it actually a good thing for us to do as well? Later we will be discussing it. Okay?
Okay, thank you,
All right.
Ustaz Nasir.
Mm.
But just one comment from me.
Mm.
So this is also we have to look at a positive point in a sense, like mentioned by Ustaz Nasir, just the last point there, that is it good to have a lot of screening too, in a sense, because
Mm.
at the end of the day, we want to grow the money that we have now, which is, because of inflation, is the value of it, or the purchasing power is shrinking in a sense. So if we are putting a lot of points, a lot of screening, then that begs the question, then how do Muslims we grow our money then? So that's something to think about lah. So I think the next
Yes.
point that we want to ask Ustaz Nasir is like, what does it mean when we own a stock in a sense?
Okay.
So yeah,
That is
so
in the next slide.
you go.
Yeah. Okay. So, say for example, okay, if we do a certain investment, we buy a certain stock or a certain share from a certain company, do we actually involved in their financial activity, like we've mentioned just now? Okay, so to tackle this, definitely we need to understand first what are the companies that first has outrightly say that they support a certain activity. Okay,
Mm,
in today's context, definitely we talk about any form of affiliation with Israel lah. Okay,
mm,
despite in terms of their own economy, or despite in terms of their own investing in their defense and whatnot. Okay, so what are the examples of companies? Definitely we have a lot of the companies. If you guys are not aware, last week or even this list have already been published even way before that whatever that happened in the 7 October. Okay, the last 2 years. Okay, way before. Okay, UN have already listed some of the companies that directly complicit or have some form of affiliation or some form of connection with Israel in whatever lah, in terms of their activity. And some of it, like you can see here, like Microsoft, most of them are well-known companies as well. Okay, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, Nvidia, and unfortunately, all these are the items or the companies that we use their products as well.
mm,
Okay, so how do we go about this? Later we're gonna discuss. Okay, other than this, it's like your Caterpillar, not Caterpillar, what Caterpillar? Caterpillar, like the construction company, okay, where they demolish all those buildings, they use these
mm,
machines. Okay, and then you have your HP, you have your all those financial institution as well, like your BlackRock, Vanguard. Okay, so those are the companies that you know, uh, what you can see that they complicit with Israel, or sometimes their activity or how they support, for example, okay, are prone to are pro to Israel lah. Okay, so let's look at the second at the next slide. Okay, what does it mean if we were to buy a certain stock? Did our money, okay, say for example, like I buy $10 worth of Amazon. Okay, is that $10 will go to Amazon directly? That is the first question. And then the second question, will that $10 will be used? Say for example, Amazon support Israel. Okay, will that $10 be used for that as well? So that is the two questions that we're gonna address today. So the first one, will our $10 actually go to Amazon? That's the first issue. Okay, before, I think when we talk about Israel, when we talk about investing into a certain company, a certain funds and whatnot, sometimes when we see, oh, uh, for example lah, McDonald. Oh, McDonald give burgers to Israel troops. Give burgers to Israel soldiers. Oh, McDonald is supporting Israel for whatever reason. Okay, so we know, okay, that company is McDonald. So for us, we thought that okay lah. First, definitely we don't buy their product. We don't eat McDonald, for example. Okay, and then second, in terms of investment, we also don't invest into McDonald for whatever reason lah. If you want to invest, okay, because we thought that if we give our money in terms of investment to McDonald, McDonald will use it whatever and then to support Israel in its entirety. Okay, is that actually true? Okay, it can be true, it can be not as well. It depends on how you invest. Okay, when we talk about individual company investment, okay, basically you need to understand, we have two types of market. One is the primary market, the other one is the secondary market. And this is not just for your stocks investment, this can also be for your bond market as well. Sukuk market, we have primary, we have secondary. So what is primary? Primary is what you know today as, for example, is the IPO for stocks, for companies lah. Okay, say for example, like Ustaz Nasir own a certain company, and then I want to list it in SGX. SGX is the Singapore Stock Market Exchange. Okay, alright. So I want to list my company in SGX. I need to go through IPO, or what we call it as initial public offering. Okay, so what will happen? Say for example, now I own a certain company and then I want to list it in the market. I will need to go through the IPO process. And during this IPO process, what I will do is I will campaign, or I will attract investors to fund into my company. Okay, and that everything that happened during the primary market activity. If you were to invest in a certain company where you invest in their IPO phase, then 100% of your company will go directly, 100% of your investment will go directly into that company. Okay, IPO stage. So what is the companies that gonna list it in, or gonna go through the IPO process? You might not know. Okay, all these sometimes your brokers, or sometimes you need to read the news, okay, or you follow a certain company where they say that okay, we will do a certain IPO. Say for example, you guys know Oriental Coffee. You guys know Oriental Coffee, the one that is popular in Malaysia, in Mid Valley lah and whatnot. When you go to Mid Valley, Malaysia, JB, there's a line, Oriental Coffee. Okay, they like to buy their coffee. Okay, so in the news, you hear, oh, Oriental Coffee is just a shop. Okay, now they have a lot of franchise, a lot of shops like in different places. But after they have become successful, they want to get more funds. Okay, they want to list themselves into the stock market, which is Bursa in Malaysia. So for Oriental Coffee, they need to go through the IPO process, IPO phase. That's where, say for example, you have been consuming the coffee and whatnot, and then when you hear they want to list in the market, you invest in them. Where you know, if I invest in this company, definitely gonna boom because everybody will buy. Okay. So in that phase, IPO stage, that is where 100% of your money will go to the company.
Mm.
But what about if you buy, say for example, Tesla, Nvidia, Microsoft in the brokerage, through brokerage, or in the market that have already been listed? Okay. That is what we call as the secondary market. What is the secondary market? Secondary market is those investors that have already buy the share of the company in the primary market.
Mm.
Okay, the first investment, right, the initial investment, those investors, after they hold the share for a certain time, and then they know, oh, the business is profiting and whatnot, so to gain the profit, what they need to do, they need to sell it off.
Mm.
So when the first investor sell, who buy? It is us.
Mm.
We are the one who buy from that first investor.
Mm.
So that's where all those shares being circulated in the stock market. The one that you can see, those have already been listed,
Mm.
meaning those companies that you can see in SGX lah, NYSE lah, Bursa and whatever not. Okay, those are the companies that have gone through the IPO process. So you have missed the IPO stage. Okay,
Mm.
so say for example, you open your Tiger, you open your Momo, you open your Weibo, you open whatever, and then you want to buy a certain company. Okay, say for example, you buy Nvidia, you invest $100. That $100 trust me, it will not go to Nvidia at all.
Mm.
Where do it go to? It will go to whoever that you pay lah. The brokerage lah. You buy and sell, right? Okay. So whoever that you pay, that person, say for example, Ustaz Fairuzi own Nvidia first.
Yeah.
Okay. So Ustaz Nasir go to Ustaz Fairuzi and then I buy his share. That's what
Mm.
happened in the brokerage,
Mm.
in the market. So if you were to engage in the secondary market, more often than not, you are not investing directly into the company or the shares that you are buying, but
Mm.
you are actually giving it to the whoever that you are buying from.
Mm.
Okay, so that is the most important thing that you need to understand. But say for example, you invest and whatnot. Are there any direct or indirect impact to that company? Definitely lah.
Yeah.
Okay, when you trade, say for example, you trade Nvidia. The example that we use just now is Nvidia.
Mm.
So Nvidia is so popular in the market. Everybody want to buy Nvidia.
Yeah.
Okay, so economic sense lah. If there's high demand of that one particular matter,
Yeah.
it will drive the price up.
Mm.
Okay, and when you see in the market, oh, that company, the price is expensive. What will you understand from that? Oh, the higher the price, the more valuable it is. The
Mm.
more valuable it is, the more reputation it is.
Mm.
Say for example, you know Microsoft. Okay, what is the alternative to Microsoft? Like your LibreOffice lah, like your some other third party Microsoft, not Microsoft lah, but then third party Office application. Okay, but if you want to invest, will you say for example Microsoft with LibreOffice? You know Microsoft better than Libre, right? If you want to invest, which one you will invest in terms of company? Definitely you will take Microsoft because you know when you invest in Microsoft, high chance I will make profit, high chance I will not lose my money because everybody know.
Yeah.
Rather than Libre, nobody knows. Okay, if you were to invest, it is cheap and whatnot. There's no chance for it to profit, so you will not. Okay, so if you were to invest more into all these companies, you will drive their price up, and when that happens, it will also gain more reputation for that company. As well as, say for example, they have a certain reputation. That's why in the some business planning lah. Okay, they can also issue new stocks. If you
Mm.
ever heard lah all this, okay, they issue new stocks. They have certain share, but then they want to increase more. Say for example, another 10,000. Okay, and when they do that, despite they have already gone through the IPO, if you were to engage in that activity, they will also get the money lah. But that rarely happens. Okay, for companies to issue new stocks.
Mm.
As well as yeah lah, whatever in terms of reputation in the financial sense, you can do whatever that you can lah. Hence to support whatever ideology that you have as well. Okay, that's
Yeah.
for stocks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ustaz
But
ada
one
apa-apa
thing,
soalan for now?
okay, one thing about the moving of the price, right? Of
Hmm.
course lah, if you invest $6,000 per year, it doesn't move that much lah. Unless you
Yes,
move $1 million, you buy $1 million, then that's where the
correct.
moving can have some moves. But even then, 1 million, I don't think is that much. Has to
Yes,
be a
correct.
lot lah in the sense. So this is
Yeah,
again, our buying and selling really, even about the price, it's just a macam sikit je lah kira sikit
betul,
less
betul.
it's
Yes,
a lot lah.
and yeah, you raise a good point. Okay, just now our concern is about our duit. Will it go directly into the company? So the first question I've already addressed lah, which is can be, and most of the time it will not be. Okay,
Mm.
because us, the layman, the retail investor, usually we do secondary market. And say for example, you were to invest in a certain funds or certain ETF, still it goes through the same channel, which is the secondary market. It's just that the fund manager have already pre-packed for you, okay, and then you buy and then you just invest in everything. But when we talk about share, we buy share. Some people also understand that if I were to buy a certain share, I own a certain portion of that company, and that is true as well.
Mm.
Okay, but like what Ustaz Farizi mentioned, if you buy 6,000, okay, you buy maybe 100,000 like the most lah of a certain company, you only own like one slash 10,000 portion of that share.
Mm.
Very minimal.
Yes.
Okay, in order for you to have like a substantial amount of share in terms of saying, oh, say for example, my opinion can influence the direction of the company, for example.
Yeah.
Okay, for that to happen, you need to invest a lot more, especially when we talk about all these giant companies, Nvidia, like whatnot, they have amassed the market cap is like millions of dollars. And then
Mm.
you are talking about your own $100 monthly investment, it's okay lah. Okay, you just sit one side until the value becomes 1 million or $10 million, then you have some say lah.
Mm.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right.
Right. So this one you
Okay,
can, yeah.
yeah, so this one we talk about funds. Most of us when we invest, usually we invest in funds rather than stock. Stock is for if you know you want to dabble into brokerage, then by all means lah. But most of us, as well as the FA, when you meet the FAs and whatnot, the one that we sell is usually funds. So say for example, one fund lah, okay, Franklin Tech, Sharia compliant. But inside you can still find Amazon, inside you can still find Microsoft. Why can't they just sell it off? Again, if you were to look at the fun fact sheet, the top 10% holding, okay, usually the funds that you can find that, you can find the stocks that are complicit or known to be
Mm.
complicit with the Israel companies. As simple as all those companies that I've already mentioned just now, Google, Meta, and whatnot. Okay, and these fund managers, when they construct, okay, when they create a certain fund, definitely they want to create a fund that can sell. And how can it sell? It needs to be profitable. Okay, and when we talk about profit in the market, especially in the stock market, you need to buy the tech giants.
Mm.
Okay, if you want to buy the penny stock, okay, by all means you open your own brokerage account and then you buy your own penny stock. Okay, those stocks that worth maybe $100, few dollars, and then you buy a lot of them. If you can profit, you profit. Okay, but when we talk about fund, okay, these fund managers, they often buy the companies that are profitable in the market. And when we talk about profitable in the market, definitely all these companies that are complicit with Israel happen to be in that fund as well.
Mm.
Okay, so if you want that fund, say for example, you write to Franklin, didn't you know Amazon, Microsoft, all these complicit with Israel? Can you please bring them down? Okay, and then whatever lah, whatever stocks that you're gonna buy later, please be 100% free from whatever that have been affiliation lah with Israel. If they were really to do that, okay, trust me, for a good 5 to 10 years, you will not make any money.
Mm.
Okay, if you have been enjoying returns, okay, 8% lah, 15% lah from all these funds, okay, it is because of all these, the top 10 shareholders.
Mm.
Okay, despite in that fund, there's even like, even if say for example ETF, you have hundreds of stocks in that fund. Okay, but the top 10 is usually the one that have a lot of market cap lah,
Mm.
because these are the main players. When they buy, when they sell, it gains more profit.
Mm.
Okay, the activity fluctuates more rather than you buy the small player, just 0.01%. They don't want that as well. Okay. So even if you were to approach Franklin Tech, okay, and then Franklin Templeton, to address, to change their fund and whatnot, there's a lot of things in that fund that have dedicated just to what they are investing in terms of the holdings. Okay, the risk profile, the performance, and everything have been calculated for that fund. So if they were to change and everything, it cannot be done in few years. Okay, because all this have been for years of past performance. Okay, so they need time lah, definitely. So that's for funds lah. Yeah. Okay, so like I mentioned just now, do we have any direct support when we do any form of investment into this company? More often than not, no. Okay,
Mm.
more often than not, no. But you shouldn't take it for granted lah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Ustaz Nasir say, if I were to buy Nvidia from a certain brokerage, I will not be a complicit because it is very minimal. Okay. But if you have that mindset, definitely your friends, your colleagues will also have that mindset as well. Okay. Then the number of game, the numbers game lah. Okay. The more people have that same mindset, the more it will not change. Okay, so the change they will definitely start from you. So if you have the choice, say for example, you want to open a certain brokerage, fund, bopian, you cannot do anything. You want to increase, you do your financial planning. The 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 FA have already advised you to buy a certain fund, then by all means. Or you yourself as an advisor, you only have options to a certain funds, okay, in your own company. Even in Singapore,
Mm,
whatever the funds that are listed that is Sharia compliant, all invest in those kind of companies.
yeah.
Okay, then you have no choice. You still need to do your work. You still need to help your clients, and your clients still need to profit. Okay, as well as all those lah. Okay, but if you have your own choice, say for example, you open brokerage and then you can do individual stock picking and whatnot. Then by all means, you go away from all these companies lah. Try to find other company that you have never heard before. Say for example, Nvidia. You everybody heard about Nvidia, but what about Taiwan Semiconductor?
Mm,
Taiwan Semiconductor might not be complicit, maybe. Okay. So you want to invest in that company lah. Okay. All right. But the most direct support is actually not in the form of investment. It is
mm,
actually by buying their own product.
mm,
Okay, like we already mentioned just now, investment, funds through investment just minimal only, but what they get direct to their own revenue is actually when you buy their product lah. Say
mm,
for example, McDonald, you buy their burger, you buy their, you buy their food lah. Okay, as well as some other things like what. But again, this one if you can do it, if you can do it. Say for
mm,
example, you are working in an office, okay, and then whole wide in that company is using Microsoft.
mm,
What can you do about that? You still need to work and all those. Okay, you use Google and whatnot. So wherever that you can, you do. Wherever that you cannot, you don't do lah.
mm.
Okay. Ada apa-apa that I missed tak Ustaz?
The last point ni apa? Feasibility ni.
Sorry.
The
Oh,
feasibility.
yeah lah. Say for example, okay, now I don't want to support Israel anymore. You thought that investing product and whatnot will be complicit. Okay, I want to be free 100% from Israel. Trust me, it will not be realistic lah. It
Yeah.
will not be realistic. Okay, your system, your everything is already embedded. Okay, say for example, I dare you right now. You don't use Apple, you don't use Google for your phone, but you use Huawei. Can you survive or not? Huawei, they have their own system, everything. Okay, not using Google and whatnot. Okay,
Mm,
they have their own system. Okay, just with your own phone, you sell off your Android phone and whatnot because all those got link with Google, Apple and whatnot. Okay, you sell off. Okay, and then you buy Huawei phone. Can you live with that phone? Even when you buy Huawei, you still want to install the Play Store and whatnot because some of the application you cannot find in their own Play Store lah.
yeah.
Okay. So there's of course you can do it whatever that you can on your
Yeah.
own capacity.
Yes.
Say for example you want to take lunch. Rather than go to McDonald's, go to buy nasi ayam lah.
Yeah.
Or when you want to buy new laptop, rather than you buy HP, maybe you want to buy MSI or some other company brand, something like that. Uh, okay.
Right.
If you want to do everything 100% tomorrow, no Israel, trust me, you cannot lah. You cannot. But it comes with process lah, inshallah.
So I think gradually, of course, everyone here, we do not support. Of course, we condemn all of these happenings. We have to say that lah. Okay. Of course, we have to say that so that because while we are discussing, right, we can actually see that when you are investing, talking about investment only, it doesn't link directly. Okay. So of course, now we already know how it works in a sense when you buy investment, when you buy funds. So now what are the rulings? So we have to look first into classical fake, and this is the two most, I would say, similar to what we are looking at, which is what is the ruling of selling weapons to enemies. When I say enemies, say enemies of Islam. The example, we have Ottoman state, right? Then we have the Roman state, then we have the Persian state. So what is the ruling? If I sell the weapon, I as a Muslim, I sell these weapons to the enemies. I sell these weapons to pirates. Okay, the famous pirates lah, for example, right? What is the ruling, and also what is the ruling of selling grapes to a person? So basically, what is the ruling of us selling something which is actually nothing, not it doesn't harm you, or it's not haram in the first place. But then when you sell it to the second party is the one who make it haram or doing it for things that's haram. So what is the rule in classical fiqh? So the answer is there is a difference of opinion, and both opinion have its I would say evidences. And this is something that again we have to read up, we have to understand. Because firstly, right, when you talk about this example is, I think, more intense than what we are discussing. Because here we are talking about I am selling a weapon to someone who potentially can attack me or my state in a sense. So this is something even more intense than talking about buying or selling shares of, in a way, like Microsoft that is complicit in over the Gaza genocide, or have projects with Israel, for example. I think this particular classical fake issue is even more, I would say, intense. But then, even with that intensity, there is a difference of opinion. So the first opinion is that it's haram. So this is actually took from this particular scholar, uh, Syekh Wahbah Zuhaili, in his book Fiqh Islami wa Adillatuh, talking about this particular matter. So Mazhab Maliki and Mazhab Hanbali mentioned that it's haram. Okay, the reason being why it's haram, because not because of the person you doing it for no bad things, but rather because you want to block any avenues to haram. So of course, killing people is haram, murdering people is haram, or giving people wine or alcohol is haram. So of course, when you are in a way, like a way to that, you are the avenue to that. You give your money, and or you sell things to that person, and that person can actually do these haram things, then it's haram lah. So they base it on this particular verse of the Quran, wala ta'awanu 'alal ithmi wal 'udwan, and do not help each other on maksiat, on enmity, and also on sins lah, which is drinking alcohol is a sin and killing people is a sin. So this is the first opinion. Second opinion from Abu Hanifa, okay, Mazhab Hanafi and Mazhab Shafi'i, mentioned that the outward validity of selling grapes to someone who use them to make wine, or selling weapons to someone who may use them to fight Muslims. Okay, this topic has been discussed from before. And when you talk about Imam Shafi'i, is 1,000, yeah, 1,200 years ago. And I really think this scholars, they are genius. Genius in the sense that they already think of something that haven't happened yet before. At that point of time, right? No one is thinking that I want to sell weapons to enemies to fight us Muslims. No one is doing that, but they are already thinking about it, and they're already giving the steps how to, answer it. So for them, it is not, it is valid, but makruh. Means that when you buy and sell, for these two scholars and their students, it is permissible. But even then, it is makruh. But we cannot say that, oh, you is haram, benda ni haram ataupun duit tu haram. You cannot say that for them lah, for Mazhab Hanafi and Mazhab Syafi'i, because for them, yes, it is makruh, but you cannot say that duit haram. It's still halal, but it's more on makruh. Why? Because we do not have certainty that he will indeed use the grape. So even though lah, we can say that, oh, memang dia ni orang yang buat wine, for example. But you cannot know, for example, that they are using your grape to make the wine, for example lah. Okay, that's why they give this, I would say, leniency in a sense lah. Similarly, talking about the weapons, that he will actually use the weapons to fight the Muslim, for example. That's the particular thing. So again, this is more intense, okay, but even with the intensity, even with, I would say, this is in bahasa bahasa kasar, we say ni lagi teruk lah. For example, this issue is lagi teruk, but even then there is a discussion between scholars. Okay, yeah, so at the end of the day, look by knowing what is being mentioned by Ustaz Nasir, and by knowing that even in the classical fiqh, the scholars have difference of opinion in this case. Let me share like why is there difference of opinion? Why is there difference of opinion between Mazhab Hanafi, Mazhab Shafi'i, Mazhab Hanbali, and Mazhab Maliki, right? So for these first two scholars, right, their mazhab is mostly in Muslim countries. In the sense, Muslim states, in the sense like Medina, like yeah, it's mostly on Medina, Mecca. So in Medina and Mecca, right, memang 100% semua Muslim lah. So the fact that if you are the one who is starting, the one who's selling grapes, the first one selling grapes to a wine company in Makkah, in Medina, then cari pasal lah. In the sense that you are starting a fire or starting, something that everyone will start to, drink. Or you are in a way like selling weapons to nearby people, enemies, then most probably if Medina atau Makkah kena attack, most probably it's your fault lah, in the sense lah. But when you talk about Mazhab Shafi'i and Mazhab Hanafi, Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Shafi'i live in Egypt. And we know Egypt is civilized country where everyone comes in there. We have the Romans came in there, the Persians come in there before. So dia macam dah memang macam Singapore lah in a sense. That it's a business country. Similarly to Mazhab Abu Hanifa, he is living in Iraq. At that point of time, Iraq is a business place. Like people come in and out, and there are Muslims and non-Muslims. So that's why the opinions differ because of what they are saying, what they are living together. So for the first two, because they are living with Muslims, so it doesn't make sense that why you want to sell this to non-Muslims? Why you want to sell this to a wine company? Memang kan haram, semua orang tak minum bro. Example lah in the sense. So for second opinion, it's like because they are living together with other people, and hence the opinion change lah in the sense. Okay, and both of course both have their valid evidences, and of course again, this is where we can see the beauty of Islam, the mercy of Islam, where there are differences of opinion. So we cannot say, oh, one is totally wrong, one is not totally right, for example. So that we have to look at the context and system. So for this ruling, I think we already know what's the ruling. There are difference of opinion, either makruh or haram. If you choose makruh, is it okay? It's okay, no problem. If you choose haram, is it okay? It's okay, no problem. But the problem is if you put your makruh on people who believe it's haram, that one cannot lah. So example, like you, the one who say, oh, it's okay lah, it's okay to invest in Nvidia, example. But the person clearly says, I'm not comfortable, I don't want. So you cannot impose lah. If you want to do yourself, by all means. But if the person say it's haram, then you want to impose on them, also cannot. Vice versa. Also, if you think it's haram, you cannot say to someone that's makruh, saying that, oh, it's haram, you cannot do that, you cannot do this. So again, you cannot impose because both have its opinions lah. Okay, yeah. But then we want to bring up one situation. What if you already invest in the companies? Okay, because talking about the genocide, right, it happens in the genocide itself. The project for Microsoft, if I'm not mistaken, it started during the time like last 2 years, right? Like that's the project where it's really people know about it, or it's a new project in a sense. So you already invest before that. Okay, and of course maybe now is you are at a loss, so what should you do? Even if you hold the opinion it's haram, so okay, what you can do is, firstly, there is a kawaid called ad-darurat tubihul mahzurat, means that necessities permits forbidden things. So what is the necessity here? The necessity here is that you are going to lose your money if you sell off your stocks. This is just a context. If you are losing your money, you already invest in these companies, okay, then you yourself, even after attending, and you still feel that it's haram, okay, which is there's no problem with it, but then how? Do you still have to, sell off? So for this situation, according to this particular qawaid, we said that you can hold first. Okay, maybe until it break even, or maybe you profit, then you sell off and you buy other stocks, for example lah. Okay, unless it's like there's no hope in that particular company. But usually, like mentioned in these companies, it always goes up lah. Because everyone is using the tech. Not everyone is, using the project, but everyone is using the tech right now. So that's where the money is in a sense lah. Okay, so people may ask like, this is one of the hadiths, okay, to support, okay, the darurat to bihul mahzurat. And the question also come in that is protecting your money a necessity or a need? Is it like darurat betul-betul sampai itu, if you don't have it, you meninggal? No, it's not. But there is another maxim that mentioned that a hajat, a necessity and a need. Okay, what's the difference is that a need is something, if you don't take it, you will die. A hajat, a necessity is that if you don't take it, you will not die, but it will be a bit hard, but you will not die. So there is another maxim that mentioned that a hajat, a necessity, can go under the form of desperate need, okay, whether it's in general or specific form. Means that right now, even if losing your money will not make you, die, okay, or pass on, but still it can be considered as a desperate need in the sense lah. Okay, so this is where, of course, this is my opinion that you can hold your stocks first, okay, for these companies lah. Okay, until it break even, then if you still believe that it's haram, then you can just sell it off lah. Because at the end of the day, it's your money lah, it's your hard-earned money. No matter what, for example, whether it's whether the company is haram or not, firstly you earn it halal. That's the most important thing. Okay, then doesn't make sense that when you put in something haram, then when it goes down, then maybe you suddenly found out it's haram. Doesn't make sense that you have to sell it off. Okay, yeah. So I hope that this is something that we can understand, and that when we do things with properly, like with understanding. Okay, yeah. So I think that's all that we have to present to everyone. So any questions so far? Okay, I think